The Canadian housing market is finally collapsing for the first time in literally a decade. We're starting to see the Bank of Montreal raise over 2.6 billion to boost capital buffers because right now all of these mortgages where you only had to put 5% down on the first half a million and 10% down on anything thereafter, people leveraging $1 million with barely $100,000 down. Now that those payments with the raising interest rate environment becoming a little bit more compressed, it's de-weighting the value of these loans. They're going from AAA rated mortgages to like B minus mortgages, meaning these banks need to actually continue to put loan loss provisions aside in case some of these start to falter. And we are going to see a ton of them start to falter. I mean, just take a look. You maybe heard some clips about this, but this is wild.
These homes are set to be completed next year, but many of the people who agreed to buy them may never get to move in.
We are not even sure if we will be able to close this property or not.
The house Purnima Malasetti agreed to pay $1.9 million for in October 2021 is now being appraised at $1.6 million. That's the amount a bank would give her a mortgage for. She'd have to cover the difference.
See, this is the crazy thing. It's just like, imagine coming up with, say, like $200,000 down on $1 million property, and then all of a sudden that house value went from like $1 million to 600. Not only did you just vaporize the $200,000 deposit, but now the bank wants you to cover the difference as well.
We are not able to eat. We are not able to rest. We are not able to do anything. How are we going to close? And what happens if we don't close? What are the bad effects?
I think it's important to point out too the fact that like this is what happens when you extend closing dates out. You put a little bit of a deposit down, buy a pre-construction, then you have to wait a year. It's highly volatile and risky when you're not locking in those mortgage rates, and then you're really relying on the value of the house to sustain for that period of time. Obviously, most people expect the housing value to go up, but in periods like this where the housing value goes down, you might not even be able to get approved for that mortgage a year later when you actually need it.
Buyers who can't close could lose their deposits and be taken to court. Malasetti is one of 8 buyers CBC News spoke to, all in a similar situation. Many who were pre-approved for mortgages can no longer pass the federal stress test. Those that can are being offered hundreds of thousands of dollars less than their purchase price from lenders, or monthly mortgage rates they can't afford.
Me and my wife, I think we haven't slept for the last 3 months. Since these interest rates are going up, we haven't slept.
The buyers are asking the builder, Paradise Developments, to extend closing dates or reduce purchase prices. This weekend, several protested outside its sales office. In a statement, Paradise Developments says it works directly with purchasers throughout the process, and it made business decisions and financial commitments based on the agreements signed with buyers.
Basically, the construction builder is just going to throw these people under the bus, and as much as they're protesting against them, they signed the contract. They are at every means legally liable for those payments. So, you know, the constructor is going to do what they have to do, and that's take them to court. So not only will these people lose those deposits, they're likely going to get sued on the different variant price of the house as well.
Real estate experts say buying unfinished homes is risky.
Well, no shit, Sherlock, but I want to give you guys a few tidbit pieces of advice because I feel horrible for this family, but this is going to be the reality of a correction that we so desperately needed from a government who sucked so many young people into overpaying for homes, putting themselves over $500,000 in debt, thinking that this was completely normal, with all older generation saying this is something you have to do. You need to own a house. You need to buy a house, driving up the most insane real estate market that we've seen globally. Toronto's become like, you know, a golden child for foreign income because it's just been an endless place of just exuberated wealth creation, to finally pricking the bubble, taking everybody down that just got too greedy with this. And unfortunately, good families like this are going to be getting wiped out in this process, meaning that if you weren't getting wiped out, this is going to be a buying opportunity of a lifetime. Because let's be real, that construction guy, he needs to get that money out of that property. He's going to sell it for a lot less than market value just to get it sold, meaning you could come in, buy it for a lot less off of him, and then he's just going to go sue that family for the difference. It's kind of a shame, but that's what's going to be happening across the spectrum right now. And to be honest, I'm going to give you a few tidbits of advice. If you're somebody that needs to sell a house right now, I do my best to avoid it. But if you are, when that person comes up with that deposit, do it through your own lawyer. Get it so when the clause comes in that they don't close on that property, that you have every right and entitlement to that deposit without actually relieving them of liability. Right now, that construction builder, which again is unfortunate for both parties, he doesn't just immediately get access to that deposit. He has to fight for that deposit. And he actually has to get it, not only the deposit, but he has to sue for the full amount that he wants to get on the property lost value. So all that money is just tied up, costing him interest, costing him money. So don't do it through a mortgage broker. The realtors here, the way the whole system works, it's a complete joke. Find a good lawyer, set it up the way you want it set up, ask for the deposit you want. Don't get these dead minimum deposits either. I'd ask for much larger deposits so people are more on the wire to cover the difference in these variable home prices. And obviously, if you're somebody looking to buy a house, guys, this should be relatively expected at this point, but don't leave out closing dates for more than like a month. Don't be closing out 3 or 4 months from now because you don't know where the market's going to be. Close as soon as possible. Lock in at least a 15-year locked rate mortgage, because that way, at least over time, your payments are going to go down. And 15 years is a long time for the interest rates to balance themselves out before renewal. And by then, you'll have paid down a huge percentage of your mortgage. But hey, this is so desperately needed. This is something I've talked about on this channel since almost day one. The real estate market here is a bubble. It's a joke. It needs a correction, and we're finally going to see that correction. How great it's going to be, I don't know, but it is setting up for a buying opportunity of a lifetime, because inevitably we have a supply and demand problem. And when that flips, everyone buying now will get this slow cushion back up, and inevitably give it 5-10 years, and God knows, who knows, maybe we'll be back at all-time highs, because the Toronto real estate market is just nutty. But let me know what you think in that comment section below.